Hey everyone, I'm Connor, and this is a small teaser of the kind of in-depth information you'll get out of my conference talk, Angular versus React. So let's get into it. So here we've got our Angular project, and here we have our React project. This one here, the Angular project, Angular uses TypeScript, so I wanted to compare using apples to apples, and React is also using TypeScript. You can see here as string, and I'm defining it up here. So anyway, we're going to talk about state management and the way you manage state inside of a component in both React and Angular. So right away you'll notice that Angular does things a little different. They take the approach of breaking up the different types of components you need that build a component, right? So you have your just TypeScript file over here, and then you will have an HTML file and a CSS file to go along with it. Now, and it's all up here defined in this @component tag to say this is what I use for my HTML and CSS, and obviously your TypeScript goes here inside this class. React, on the other hand, takes a different approach where the HTML and CSS live inside the app. Now, if you want to pull in CSS, you can import that, obviously, and most people do, but your HTML lives inside of React. That is referred to as your JSX. You'll sometimes see that, and for TypeScript, you'll see TSX. So, the way you handle state in components in React has changed with the latest version of React. So now they've introduced hooks and also functional components. So if you notice, here in my Angular app, I have a class, and over here in my React app, this is just a function. And the cool thing about hooks is that they offer a few different kinds, and React offers a few different kind of hooks. This one we're using useState, and that's all we'll need to manage state with inside of this component. This is just a simple state where we're keeping track of an array of strings. And here in our HTML, you'll see we just have a label, an input, and a button, and then we show the list. Likewise, over here, for our class, we have our properties. This will hold our array. This will hold the name as you're typing it. And this is the function to actually add it to the list. In our HTML, we've got the same. So let's take a look. And what that does is actually, this is destructuring, and it destructures into an array of the actual object that you're trying to manage. And then you also get a function that will allow you to update that object. Now, this can be pretty powerful, but here there's not too much craziness going on. We just have onClick add name, and then we call our function add name. So here we call set state, so set names, and we give, which comes with, would look like this, right? Passing it over into here, and then we just spread the previous state and then add the name to the end of that array. And then afterwards, we just want to set name back to empty. And what that will do, since value down here in our input is equal to name, it will just update the input to have nothing in it. So we can go take a look at that. Over here, this is our React app. So you'll see I can type in my name, Connor, tab over, and we just added it to the list. We can go back here, add another name, Susie, add to the list. Back, Bob, add name. So you can see what's going on here is onClick, over here, onClick, we're calling our function add name. And then on change, notice this right here. This is what's actually updating the value of name. So when we set name and we get it here, we didn't pass anything into here. We are just using the name value. That's because it's already being updated by this on change event. Now if you notice, if we go over here to Angular, things look a little different. Now we still are calling our click event, which looks different. You'll see we have on click here and then click in parentheses here. Angular's templating is quite different than React, and there are a lot of oddities with it, but that's not to say that it's bad. It's just something you need to learn in addition to JavaScript, HTML. It's something specific to the framework. So here we have our click event and we call the add name function. And notice over here we had our on change, which was what updated the value of name. Here in Angular, the way that works is we bind it with ng model. And this is our what they call banana in a box. And our ng model is actually tied to this name. Having this name here is important because it's actually tied to this property over here of the class. So this gets updated as you type into this input. This name value gets updated. So when we go to call click and add name, and it refers to it down here, we actually call this .names.push. Notice we're doing that quite differently than how we were doing it over here. And we get a reference to this .name and add it to the list, and then we set it to null. It's the same thing as when we set this back to empty. We're just making sure that the input gets erased. So those are the main differences between how you manage state in a simple component with simple state between Angular and React. Let's go look at our Angular app just to watch it do the same thing. Connor, add, Susie, add, Bob, add. And there you have it. It works the same way, but actually the code looks quite a bit different. So, if you like what you see, come on out and check out my talk, Angular versus React, an in-depth comparison.